The forgotten outpost, the morning sky of Kepler 442c burned orange and purple, casting long shadows across the makeshift settlement that had once been humanity's most ambitious research outpost. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the main facility, watching her daughter Zara tinker with another broken atmospheric processor. 15 years. 15 long years since the Galactic Science Consortium had simply stopped sending supply ships, stopped answering their distress calls, stopped caring whether the 150 humans on this distant world lived or died. The research station had been humanity's pride when it was established 20 years ago, Earth's first major contribution to galactic science, a joint venture with 12 different alien species to study the unique properties of this planet's crystalline core. The consortium had promised regular supplies, rotating staff, and a permanent place for humanity in the galactic community. What they got instead was silence. Sarah's weathered hands gripped the railing as she remembered the early days after the abandonment. The panic, the desperation, the slow realization that they were truly alone. Some had wanted to attempt the impossible journey back to Earth in their research vessels, but the ships weren't designed for such distances. Others had simply given up hope. But Sarah had been pregnant then, and the thought of her unborn child had given her strength to lead the survivors forward. "Mum, I think I've got it working again," Zara's voice called out from below. At 14, she was already showing the kind of ingenuity that had kept their small community alive. Born on this world, she had never known the comfort of Earth's cities or the security of belonging to a vast civilization. To her, this was simply home, and every broken machine was just another puzzle to solve. Sarah smiled despite herself. The children born here were different from their Earth-born parents. They were adapted, resilient, creative in ways that amazed and sometimes worried her. They had learned to speak with the native crystal formations that grew throughout the planets caves, discovered how to harvest energy from the unique mineral deposits, and even developed a rudimentary communication system with some of the planet's more intelligent wildlife. Marcus Webb, the station's head of security, approached from behind. His hair had gone completely grey in the 15 years since abandonment, but his shoulders were still broad and his eyes still sharp. "Sarah, we've got company," he said quietly. "Long-range sensors picked up a ship about an hour out. It's not one of ours." Sarah felt her heart skip. In all their years of isolation, they had seen occasional ships pass through the system, but none had ever stopped. None had ever shown any interest in the forgotten humans of Kepler 4 for to see. Hostile, unknown. Its small, single occupant by the readings could be a scout or trader, but Sarah... Marcus paused, his expression troubled. "It's broadcasting on old consortium frequencies, channels that haven't been used in years." They made their way to the communications center, where the station's remaining technical staff had gathered around the main display. The approaching ship was sleek, organic-looking, with flowing lines that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Definitely alien, but unlike any design in their databases. "Incoming transmission," announced Alina Vasquez, their communications officer. It's in perfect standard Galactic, but the translator is having trouble with some of the concepts." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The voice that filled the room was melodious, almost musical, but carried an undertone of urgency that made everyone lean forward. "Greetings, humans of the lost colony. I am Kethfa of the Helix Federation. I bring grave news and an offer of hope. May I request permission to land and speak with your leaders?" Sarah exchanged glances with Marcus. The Helix Federation was unknown to them, not part of any galactic database they had access to. But something in the alien's tone suggested this was important. Permission granted, Kethva. Landing pad 3 is clear. An hour later, they watched as the strange ship settled onto their landing pad with impossible grace, its hull seeming to flow like liquid metal before solidifying. The being that emerged was tall and elegant, with skin that shifted between silver and blue depending on the light. Its large eyes held an ancient wisdom, and when it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to reach directly into their minds. I am honored to meet the survivors of humanity's first deep space colony, Kethva said, offering what appeared to be a formal bow. Your persistence in the face of abandonment is legendary among the younger races. Legendary. Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. How could we be legendary? We've had no contact with the galaxy for 15 years. Kethva's expression darkened. That is precisely why your story has spread. The consortium's abandonment of your people was not accidental, Dr. Chen. It was part of a calculated plan to demonstrate humanity's expendability. To the Galactic Council, Marcus's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm. What do you mean? The established powers in the galaxy saw your species as a threat. Your rapid advancement, your refusal to accept limitations, your tendency to find solutions where others see only problems. They needed to prove that humans could be abandoned, forgotten, left to die without consequence. Kethva's forms seemed to shimmer with emotion. They were wrong. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying our abandonment was deliberate. More than that, they have been spreading the story as a cautionary tale to other emerging species. See how easily the humans were discarded, they say. This is what happens to those who reach too far, too fast. Kethva paused, its large eyes seeming to look directly into each of their souls. But your survival, your adaptation, your refusal to simply fade away has become something else entirely. It has become a symbol of hope. Zara, who had been listening quietly from the back of the group, suddenly stepped forward. You said you brought an offer of hope. What kind of offer? Kethva turned to the young woman with what might have been surprise. You are one of the generation born here. I am, Zara said proudly. This is my home. These people are my family. What's your offer? Direct and to the point. Very human. Kethva seemed to approve. The offer comes not from the Helix Federation alone, but from a growing alliance of species who have been inspired by your story. We call ourselves the Free Worlds Coalition. We believe that all species have the right to exist, to grow, to reach for the stars without fear of being cast aside. That's wonderful, Sarah said slowly. But why come to us? We're just 150 people on a forgotten world. Because, Dr. Chen, you are about to become very important indeed. Kethva's form darkened, taking on more serious tones. The galaxy faces a threat unlike any it has ever known. Something is coming from the void between galaxies, something that consumes entire star systems. The consortium's response has been to fortify their core worlds and abandon the outer colonies. They believe that by sacrificing the periphery, they can save the center. Marcus stepped forward. How does that involve us? The crystals on your world, the ones your children have learned to communicate with, they are not natural formations. They are part of an ancient defense network built by a civilization that faced this same threat eons ago. Your people's unique connection to them may be the key to activating the network. Sarah felt her mind racing. The crystals had always been unusual, and the children's natural affinity for them had been one of the most remarkable developments of their isolation. "You're saying our kids might be able to help save the galaxy?" "More than that, Kethfa," replied. "Initial scans suggest that the human neural patterns, especially those shaped by life on this world, may be uniquely compatible with the crystal network's control systems. Your abandonment may have inadvertently created the galaxy's best hope for survival." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They had been cast aside, forgotten, left to die. But in their struggle to survive, they had become something the galaxy desperately needed. "There's something else," Kethfa continued. "Word of our mission has reached Earth. Your homeworld has been remarkably quiet for the past decade. Many assumed they had accepted their place as a minor power in galactic affairs. They were wrong." Sarah felt her heart leap. "Earth knows about us. Earth has known about you all along. They have been watching, waiting, preparing, and now," Kethfa paused dramatically, "now they are coming. Not just for you, but for every human colony that has been abandoned or forgotten. Your homeworld has apparently decided that the galaxy's treatment of its children is unacceptable." The communications array suddenly crackled to life, Alina frantically adjusting controls as new signals flooded their systems. "Dr. Chen, I'm reading massive hyperspace distortions at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts, big ones. On the main display, space itself seemed to tear open as ship after ship emerged from hyperspace. Not the sleek, organic designs they were used to seeing from alien civilizations, but angular, aggressive vessels that looked like they had been built for one purpose: war. "By the ancients," Kethfa whispered, its form shifting through a spectrum of amazed colors. "They actually did it. Earth has built a fleet." The lead ship was enormous, a kilometer-long dreadnought that bristled with weapons and sensor arrays. As they watched, it began broadcasting on all frequencies, its message clear and uncompromising. "This is Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet, addressing all ships in this system. The human colony on Kepler 442c is now under the protection of Earth. Any hostile action against these people will be considered an act of war against humanity. We have come to bring our people home, and we will not be denied." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face as she watched more ships emerge from hyperspace: cruisers, destroyers, support vessels, and massive transports. Earth had not forgotten them, after all. "How many?" Marcus asked, his voice hoarse with emotion. Kethfa was consulting what appeared to be an organic computer interface growing from its arm. "Over 200 ships. This is the largest human fleet ever assembled. They are not just here for you, Dr. Chen. They are making a statement to the entire galaxy." Zara was staring at the display with wonder in her eyes. "Are we really going home?" Sarah put her arm around her daughter, the daughter who had been born among the stars and had never known the world of her ancestors. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I think we're about to find out that home might be bigger than we ever imagined." As the Earth fleet took up defensive positions around their world, Sarah realized that their 15 years of abandonment had not been the end of their story. They had been the beginning of something far greater. The galaxy had tried to make them disappear, to erase them from history as a warning to others. Instead, they had become a rallying cry, a symbol of human endurance that had awakened something in their species that the established powers had never expected. Earth had returned to the galactic stage, and it was clear they were no longer content to play by the old rules. Asterisk. Earth's declaration, the Galactic Council chambers had never seen anything like it. For 3,000 years, the massive amphitheater had hosted the deliberations of hundreds of species, its crystalline walls echoing with the voices of beings from across the galaxy. Today, those same walls trembled with tension as the most unprecedented session in galactic history was about to begin. Ambassador David Kim stood in the small waiting area reserved for minor species, his diplomatic credentials barely sufficient to grant him access to the Great Chamber. Earth had not been invited to speak at this emergency session. Earth had not been consulted about the growing crisis threatening the Outer Rim. Earth, as far as the Galactic Council was concerned, was still a junior member whose opinions carried little weight. They were about to learn how wrong they were. High above, in the observer galleries reserved for non-voting members, Kim could see the representatives of dozens of lesser species. The abandoned, the forgotten, the expendable. They were all here today, drawn by whispers of what was about to happen. The Free Worlds Coalition, as HFY had called it, was larger than anyone in the core worlds had realized. At the center of the chamber, the great hologram displayed the current crisis in stark detail. Red zones marked systems that had gone dark, consumed by the approaching threat from intergalactic space. The Void Swarm, as scientists had dubbed it, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever faced. It didn't conquer worlds or strip them of resources. It simply consumed everything, leaving behind empty space where star systems had once thrived. Chancellor Vextar of the consortium rose to address the assembled delegates, his crystalline form catching the chamber's lights and casting rainbow patterns across the walls. Fellow councillors, the situation grows more dire by the day. 17 systems in the Outer Rim have been lost to the Void Swarm. Our defense fleets have proven inadequate against this threat. A rumble of concerned voices filled the chamber. The hegemony's representative, a massive insectoid being known as Hive Speaker Zoth, clicked its mandibles in agitation. The solution is obvious. We must consolidate our forces, strengthen the core worlds, and establish a defensive perimeter around the civilized systems, and abandon the outer colonies. The voice came from the Free World section, where HFY had somehow secured speaking privileges. Sacrifice millions of beings to save the established powers. Chancellor Vextar's form brightened with annoyance. The outer colonies are expendable. That is the harsh reality of our situation. We cannot save everyone, cannot or will not. The new voice cut through the chamber like a blade, strong and clear and utterly human. All eyes turned to see Ambassador Kim stepping forward, his diplomatic credentials suddenly irrelevant as he claimed the speaker's platform through sheer force of will. "I am Ambassador David Kim of Earth," he announced, his words carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics, "and I am here to inform this council that Earth formally rejects your classification of any human life as expendable." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. How had a representative of a minor species gained access to the speaker's platform? Chancellor Vextar S-form flashed with outrage. "This is highly irregular. Earth has no standing." To Kim's voice cut through the protests. "Earth claims the right of protection declaration under the ancient laws of Galactic Sanctuary. We formally declare all human colonies and settlements to be under Earth's direct protection, regardless of their current political status." The chamber fell silent. The ancient laws were older than the current Galactic Council, established in the early days of interstellar civilization. They had not been invoked in over a millennium, and many had forgotten they even existed. But Kim had done his research. The Protection Declaration requires that Earth possess the means to enforce such protection, Chancellor Vexter said, his tone now more cautious. Your homeworld has what, 12 patrol ships and a handful of system defense platforms? Kim smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both diplomatic and predatory. I believe you may want to update your intelligence files, Chancellor. The great hologram flickered and changed, now showing the space around Kepler-44 to see where Admiral Torres' fleet had taken position. The assembled delegates stared in shock at the massive human fleet, ships whose designs were completely unknown to Galactic intelligence services. Where did they get those ships? Hive speaker Zoct H buzzed in alarm. Earth has been quite busy. During our 15 years of galactic irrelevance, Kim replied. It seems that being dismissed and ignored has certain advantages. It allowed us to develop new technologies without interference, to build alliances without oversight, and to prepare for this moment without detection. On cue, the hologram expanded to show space around Earth itself. The chamber gasped as they saw the massive orbital shipyards, the defense platforms, the fleets upon fleets of vessels that had been constructed in secret. Earth had not been passive during their isolation. They had been preparing for war. This is impossible, Chancellor, Vexter protested. Such construction would require resources your planet doesn't possess. Would require resources Earth didn't have access to through normal galactic trade, Kim corrected. Fortunately, Earth has been developing relationships with species that the consortium considers beneath notice. Amazing what you can accomplish when you treat your partners as equals rather than expendable assets. In the observer galleries, representatives of the Free Worlds Coalition rose to their feet in a show of support. Species that had been written off, ignored, or actively suppressed by the major powers were revealing themselves as part of something larger, something that Earth had been quietly building for over a decade. The Void Swarm cannot be stopped by conventional means, Kim continued, his voice carrying throughout the stunned chamber. Our analysis suggests it's not a natural phenomenon. It's a weapon deployed by an intelligence from outside our galaxy. And the key to stopping it lies not in the core worlds that you're so desperate to protect, but in the outer colonies you're so eager to sacrifice. The hologram changed again, showing the crystal formations on Kepler-4 for 2C and similar structures on dozens of other worlds. These crystals are part of an ancient defense network built by a previous galactic civilization to repel exactly this kind of extragalactic threat, but activating the network requires a specific type of neural interface, one that appears to be compatible only with species that have adapted to life among the crystals. Humans, whispered someone in the Free World section. Not just any humans, Kim confirmed. Specifically, humans who have lived their entire lives on crystal-rich worlds. The generation born in the colonies you've abandoned. The children you've written off as expendable are quite literally the galaxy's only hope for survival. Chancellor Vextar's form had gone nearly transparent with shock. This is unprecedented. Yes, it is, Kim agreed. And Earth's response is equally unprecedented. We will not allow any human colony to be abandoned again. We will not permit any human life to be considered expendable, and we will use every resource at our disposal to protect not just our own people, but every species that has been cast aside by this council's policies. The chamber erupted as delegates began shouting questions and protests. Through the chaos, Kim's voice carried clearly. The age of the old order is ending. A new alliance is rising, one based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical dominance. You can join us in this new age, or you can face the void swarm with your diminished forces and your fortress mentality. What are Earth's terms? The question came from an unexpected source. Prime Minister Kellerton of the Asari Republic, one of the major powers and normally a strong consortium ally. Kim had been waiting for this moment. Full recognition of Earth's protection declaration. Immediate cessation of all policies that classify colonies or species as expendable. Equal representation in all defense planning. And resources to support the activation of the Crystal Network. And if we refuse, Kim's expression hardened. Then Earth will proceed independently. We will evacuate every human colony, defend every human settlement, and activate the Crystal Network with or without galactic cooperation. But I should warn you, our intelligence suggests the Void Swarm will reach the core worlds within 6 months. Without the defense network, your fortress strategy will simply ensure that everyone dies together. As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. The great hologram switched to an emergency display showing the latest intelligence reports. 3 more systems had gone dark in the past hour, and the swarm's advance was accelerating. Chancellor Vexstar stared at the display, his crystalline form cycling through colors of distress. The core world's defenses won't hold for 6 months. No, Kim agreed quietly. They won't. The chamber fell silent as the reality of their situation sank in. The old order, with its hierarchies and expendable populations, was not just morally bankrupt. It was strategically suicidal. Prime Minister Kellerton rose from her seat, her aqueous form shifting to the blue-green colors that indicated formal decision. The Asari Republic recognizes Earth's protection declaration and accepts the proposed alliance terms. One by one, other delegates began to stand, not just from the minor species, but from several major powers as well. The old consortium was fracturing before their eyes, replaced by something new and unprecedented. Chancellor Vexstar looked around the chamber, seeing the collapse of everything he had worked to build. Finally, his form settled into the grey tones of resignation. The consortium accepts Earth's terms. On Kepler 4 for to see, Dr. Sarah Chen watched as her daughter and the other crystal-born children prepared for something that would have been unimaginable just days before. They were going to save the galaxy. Zara looked up from the crystal interface she had been fine-tuning, her eyes bright with excitement and determination. "Ready, Mum." Sarah nodded, feeling a pride so deep it threatened to overwhelm her. These children, born in abandonment and raised in isolation, were about to become the heroes of galactic civilization. As the ancient defense network came online for the first time in eons, its crystalline nodes lighting up across hundreds of worlds, the Void Swarm met its first real resistance. The network didn't destroy the swarm, but it did something, perhaps. More important, it revealed its true nature and origin, providing the galaxy with the information needed to mount a real defense. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Kim delivered Earth's final statement. The galaxy tried to forget about humanity's children. They tried to make us disappear, to render us expendable. Instead, they made us essential. Never again will Earth allow any of its people to stand alone. Never again will we accept that any life is expendable. The great hologram showed the results. Human fleets spreading across the galaxy, not to conquer, but to protect. Earth's technology shared freely with all species. the abandoned colonies becoming vital nodes in a new galactic defense network. The galaxy had abandoned humanity's children, but humanity had not abandoned the galaxy, and in that choice, they had revealed what true strength really meant. As Admiral Torres' fleet began its mission to reunite every scattered human colony, her words echoed across the communicators of 1,000 worlds. This is Earth calling. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. We are coming home.